So now we're talking about thermodynamics, and I'm going to do the same thing to show you what's where. What?
Way less.
Yeah. Well, there's supposed to be 10 people in here, so some people didn't make it. So I'm just going to give you a little tour of D2L again. I think it's probably going to go a little faster because I just don't know if I can say so much about it again. So if you go to the main Normandale webpage, go to current students, D2L, and log in. And then you're at this main D2L page. If you have trouble logging into D2L, I mean, D2L is the center of everything that I'll give you in this class. So you need to be on D2L. So come talk to me and I can point you to someone who can get you logged in and stuff, or maybe I can help troubleshoot what's going on. And when you go into D2L, it'll tell you what all your classes are. And this is thermodynamics. And so you get to the main thermodynamics page. And the first thing you see when you get into the class page is the announcements. And whenever I give a new assignment or there's something important I want you to know, like a test is coming up in a week or something, I'll put an announcement here. So just get in the habit of going to D2L every day and looking at the announcements. Okay. One thing that I think I didn't maybe mention, although you saw I was recording this on video, here's what's going on with like the videos and stuff. Let's go to a previous class. And so for every class, I will, I'll mostly be writing on this tablet and I'll be recording video of it. And so after every class, you'll be able to see a PDF of what I write on the tablet. So basically, like, you'll be able to see the chalkboard. So here's one where I'm reviewing an exam that we finished. And then this isn't much of a lecture, actually. This is a lot of just solving problems people asked me to solve, it looks like. But you see what I write on the tablet, and then you also will always have access to these videos. And here's what that'll look like. Oops. So anyways, you'll be able to watch what I'm writing at the same time you hear my voice. Like, basically, if you miss a class or you want to see part of a lecture over again, those videos are going to be available for every class where I don't have computer malfunctions. And I think I've sorted out the computer malfunctions. I was having a lot of trouble with that in the spring, but okay. So that's what I'm doing with the videos. And so that's the announcements. That's the first place to look. All of the stuff that I'm giving you, the syllabus, any equation sheets or whatever, the notes, the assignments, everything are in content. And that's broken up into a few different categories. The first category is course information, and most of what we're going to do in this class is just go through the syllabus. You can see there's a list of some campus support services that you can look through on your own time. We're going to use property tables a lot in this class, so here are all the property tables that you'll need. So just relationships between different material properties like pressure, specific volume, entropy, enthalpy, a bunch of stuff that we haven't talked about yet. But for these different materials, water, a common refrigerant, ammonia, I don't know that I use that much, some ideal gases, including air. And then after every class, I'm going to give you problems to work on. Not today, actually, starting Wednesday. But I'll give you problems to work on. Those will all come from these sets under problems. And so the assignment will say, like, okay, do problems from the first law of thermodynamics, numbers 4 through 6. And you would go to problems, first law of thermodynamics, and do numbers 4, 5, and 6 from that set. Most of these problems, or at least half of these problems, there are solutions posted to them. So if you get stuck on some of those, you can look and see what's available. The idea of using those solutions is that you first spend some time trying to work through the problem on your own. If you get stuck at some point, you can use those solutions as a boost to get yourself going again. Or if you get all the way through it, you can use those solutions to check that you're thinking about it the right way. There aren't solutions for every one of those problems, but I'm happy to tell you how to do those. I didn't give all the solutions because I don't want you to convince yourself that you know how to do these problems when you don't, by just going like, oh, just all I needed was that little hint, but you need it for every single problem, and then maybe something's going wrong, So after, at the start of pretty much every class, not every class, but most classes, I'll ask for any questions people have on assignments. And then if there's a problem that you couldn't figure out how to do, just ask me to do that, and I'll go through it in class. So I'm happy to tell you how to do those. And if we don't have time to do them in class, I can do it in office hours or after class or whatever. And then if you want to read ahead, they're old lecture notes. So this is probably last year, I would guess. But you can read through what I wrote on the board class by class from a previous semester. It's going to be, the content will be the same as what I'm doing this semester, possibly talked about in a slightly different way, but, and you can find these old videos too, if you wanted to watch any of the videos from a previous semester. If you subscribe to my channel, smash that like button. It helps me out with no, just kidding. But you can subscribe to my channel, and then you can see all my playlists. And so, like, for example, here's thermodynamics from last fall. And so you can see all the videos from last fall. And okay, so that's kind of the layout. To turn in assignments, um, I will, I don't have any folders set up yet, but I'll have folders set up for each specific assignment under assessments, assignments. And um, so you'll do your work on paper and then you'll take photos of it or scan it and then submit those photo or PDF files to that folder. And so that's how I'm going to take all of my submissions of assignments. Um, I would appreciate it if you would turn in your, so if you're taking photos of it like on a phone, I would appreciate it if you would do something to turn it into a single file instead of just turning in 4 separate photos. It just makes it easier for me to look through stuff. I mean, if you turn in 4 separate photo files, that's fine. I'll, deal with it the same way. But there are phone apps and stuff that make it easy to, look up, like, I think if you look up scan or scanner in in um, the app store, yeah, uh, then it'll bring you to stuff that'll let you use your camera like as a scanner and just submit it as a single file. Um, and oh my God, so I don't want to go overboard on the cheating thing. I keep bringing up the cheating thing, but it's just been on so much on my mind. And in the summer, I taught 2 online classes, and it was just awful. Um, but I had someone turn in so you turn in your assignments as photos. So somebody turned in their first assignment, um, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I know this student didn't do this. But I looked all over, and I couldn't find anything. So I'm like, okay, like I'll just hi.
Hi, people went on Friends Avenue. I was stuck there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sure.
I was in the parking lot at like near the parking lot at 9:50. Okay, I was
um. So I'm like, okay. So I graded the assignment. And student turned in the next assignment. I'm like, I know this student didn't do this one either. And I'm just like, but I can't find it online because I'm sure it's AI, which makes it a lot harder to find. And and I'm just kind of sitting there thinking about it. And I look, I'm like, what's that at the top of the picture? And I like zoom in on the top of the picture. And the student's camera had caught the bottom of their computer screen that said, thanks for using Chat GPT. Let me know if you need another solution or whatever. Just like, oh, good Lord. Um, it was unbelievable. It was really amazing. I sent that picture to all my colleagues. Like, can you believe this?
what happened to him?
Uh, it was that student failed that class. Didn't really contest it. Like I was like, here's why I think that. And the students just kind of like, I'm like, yeah, you know, you can make an appointment to the dean to talk about it, or if there's anything you think that I'm not understanding that I should know. And the student was just basically like, like it is what it is. Just basically was like, yeah.
And that was the first 2 assignments of the class.
That was the first 2 weekly assignments, I think. Yeah. But that's just how online classes are. I mean,
yeah.
The asynchronous online classes, they're just a chunk of the students in those asynchronous classes are just like, hey, free credits. Like they're working full time and they never have any intention of learning or doing anything. It's a mess. In my opinion, we should not be offering those until we figure out some approaches. But the administration is in a weird place with it because like they need to, it's free tuition money. And like our school needs that money. So anyways, it's a freaking mess. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about the syllabus. The structure of the class and everything. So this is thermodynamics. It's 3 credits. So we meet in this room Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time. My office is this for now. It's actually going to be moving. I'm going to be moving during the semester, but you won't use my office much probably anyways, unless we make appointments to talk outside of office hours, which I'm happy to do. Because I do my office hours in the tutoring center. And that just makes it possible to have multiple students sitting at the table at the same time, talking to each other, answering questions. And if you want to come to office hours and just do work, you don't have any questions yet, that's great. Just find a comfortable place, work on stuff, and then if you get stuck, I'm right there to answer questions. The students who get in the habit of doing that, I know it doesn't work with everyone's schedule, but if it does work with your schedule to regularly make it to an office hour or more than one, it always seems to be such a good thing to just have that routine of doing problems at a certain time, and then I'm there to talk about the problems when you get stuck. So think about that if it's possible for you. To contact me, you can email me. You can call me at this number, but I'm not in my office very often, and my office doesn't have a phone in it. So that's a minor problem with calling that number. But actually, it does work because it'll send you to voicemail, and then I'll get an email with that voicemail. So you can send me voicemails. But the best way to get a hold of me with questions or comments or whatever is to use the D2L instant messenger. It just makes it a lot easier for me not to like overlook messages that people send me. It's just a really nice format for that. And that's this. Anywhere you are on D2L, this mail symbol here is the instant messenger. So and if you send me instant messages, I will pretty much never accidentally overlook your message. So I wish I could say that with email, but history suggests that that's not true. My office hours are on this. So Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to, I didn't update. It's really 2 to 3:30, 12 to 2 o'clock. But they're in the tutoring center. And if you can't make it to those and you need to talk, send me a message and we'll meet outside of that, and we can do it over Zoom, or we can meet somewhere else. Just let me know. The prerequisites for this class are Chemistry 1 and Calc 1. You want to have a good calculator for this class. And just as an engineering student, you're going to need a good calculator anyways. If you're in the market for a new calculator right now, I would suggest looking for one that does eigenvalues and eigenvectors, like the TI Inspire does that. The TI 89, those both do those. We won't get into eigenvalues in statics or thermo this semester, but if you take classes from me next semester, both of those 2 classes will use them, and basically every engineering class that you have after those will use them also. So it's about to be a really big thing in all your classes. And it's a cool word. It's like if you say that word, it makes you sound smart. The recommended reference books, like I said in statics, I really have this in a format as if these are semi-required, just for the sake of transferring this class to universities and stuff, just for communicating with professors at transfer institutions. You don't have to buy either of these. I don't think either. I think the best way to approach this class is to just try to understand everything I say in class. And if you can't understand something I say in class, talk to your classmates about it or come talk to me about it. In statics, I said buying the textbook for the class would be counterproductive. I think it would just make you more confused about the ideas I'm trying to get across. In this class, you really could follow along with me in the textbook. I go pretty closely to what the textbook does, but I still don't really recommend it. Plus, these textbooks cost a lot, you know. I mean, even used, they cost a lot. What I would recommend, though, not really so much as the class is going on, but after the class is over, is to get the Shams outline for this class, just as a reference for the future. These are really cheap, like $20 or something. They're paperback. The descriptions they have of topics are very concise, which is nice as a review. You know, you don't really want to wade through page after page of descriptions so much when you've already covered the stuff. And then they have lots of problems. Many of them have full solutions. The ones that don't have full solutions have answers. And so it's a good way to go back and, you know, check to see whether you remember how to do this stuff or not. So I'm a big fan of Shams outlines, and I think starting when I found out about them sometime in graduate school, I got Shams outlines for every class I took. And they, you know, if you take chemistry 2, they'll have it. If you take physics 2, they have it. I mean, every technical class basically has a Shams outline, and I just think they're really good and not too expensive. And honestly, I said they're cheap, but if you Google it, a lot of times you can just find the PDFs online for free, you know. And you can just download the PDF. So maybe do that first, and then if they don't have it, just order one from Amazon. So what are we? We're basically starting to combine force type stuff like you've dealt with in physics 1 with thermal stuff that comes from material properties. That's kind of what we're doing in thermodynamics. And you can think of like a good example of that, and something we'll talk about later is like a heat engine. The way a heat engine works is you get a gas inside the cylinder, you know, a piston cylinder combination, and you heat up the gas either through combustion or just through like a very hot heat source thermally connected to this thing, like a fire underneath the cylinder. And that makes the gas expand, and that expansion of the gas moves the piston up, and that creates, you know, force and energy transfer and stuff like that. So that's the sort of thing that we're talking about in thermo. A combination of forces with this new thing of thermal effects. And that's a set of topics that we'll talk about. The grading for this class is going to be most likely just 90, 80, 70, 60. If it turns out I need to curve the class, I will, but usually that grading scale works pretty well. I definitely won't curve up. I would only curve down if it turns out my tests are harder than I meant them to be or something, you know. If I did give a test where the class average was 68 or something, and it brings everyone's total percentages down so that there's only one A and one B or something, then I would curve it to. But if I make all my tests too easy, you know what I mean? I won't do it the other way. So if everybody ends up with over 90%, then everyone will get an A. So the grade breakdown is exactly the same as it was in statics. 5% lecture quizzes, 5% daily assignments, 20% weekly assignments, and then 70% exams. And that big percentage that's based on exams makes some people nervous, because I know some people have sort of a test anxiety kind of thing that can make it feel like you're not showing your best work on an in-person exam. I do think that the way I do exams makes that a little bit less of a problem for most people, because I'm not really asking you to do new creative thinking on exams as much as a lot of people do. I pretty much will give you daily assignments, give you weekly assignments, and then the exam questions are going to look very similar to these problems you've already seen. So I think if you've done the homework and gone back over and reviewed the homework and stuff, you'll get to the exam, and it won't be something that causes you a lot of stress. You'll feel comfortable with the questions you're seeing.
When you say homework, you mean the daily assignments?
The daily assignments and the weekly assignments, yeah. So basically, there are 3 places where you'll see problems: daily assignments, weekly assignments, and exams. And I think they'll all feel like they basically are drawn from the same pool. It's just that the daily assignments, you have solutions, or I'll tell you how to do it if you want. For the other ones, I'm sort of using them as evaluations. So let's just go through these categories one by one. So first of all, lecture quizzes. What I want you to be doing with your lecture notes is I want you to take notes, and then regularly I want you to go back over your notes and skim through everything that we've talked about so far. It's not going to be a huge amount of material that I'm asking you to cover, so what I want is for you to remember everything in your notes well. I want you to get, that, have you had a class before where you get to that point where like there's sort of fingerprints and, crinkles on your pages, and you can say like, oh yeah, this equation was at the top of the next page because this is, if you've never had that experience in a class, you should do it in this class because it's great. It feels like you know a lot of stuff. And I remember when I was in college, there were times where people would be like, what did you talk about in this class? Like a class I did a ton of work in, and I'd be like, oh boy, I don't know what we talked about. I remember being up at 2 a.m. doing all these integrals, and like, but like really, I'm trying to help you treat this class in a way where you're like, firstly, we discussed the relationship between energy and, like, where it's just all like what we talked about in this class is in a nice, clear outline in your head, and what equation was talked about in what section of the class. And I think if you get to that point, you'll do really well in this class. And I think if you get to that point, when thermodynamics comes up in later classes, you'll be in a really good position to apply it to the next stuff, So the way I am encouraging you to read and reread your notes as you go through the semester is that on Friday classes sometimes, at the end of class in the last 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to give you a short answer quiz on stuff that I've said in the lectures. Okay. The way to prepare for it is just to keep skimming your notes. And I'll say like, okay, what, I don't know. How many variables? I don't know. I don't know what I might say, but just like, so it'll just ask you for something that I consider to be an important topic in thermodynamics that I've discussed, and I'll just ask you a question that you'll either kind of know the answer to or you won't. There won't be any calculations involved. It's just short answer. And I'll probably do between 5 and 8 of those quizzes in the semester. And all of those will add up to a total of 5% of your grade. So not very much, but hopefully enough that it's worth, just trying to periodically get yourself ready for this stuff. Any questions about lecture quizzes? So, and I'll tell you the class before, whether we're like the Wednesday, if we're going to have a quiz on the Friday class, I'll tell you. So it's not going to be just like pop quizzes, but, and then, yeah. The lowest 2 quiz scores will be dropped, so you can miss 2 quizzes, and it won't affect your grade. The other thing that's worth 5% of your grade are these daily assignments. So really, I consider these daily assignments to be what this class is about. If you understand how to do all of the daily assignment questions well enough that you could kind of explain it to someone else who's confused, then you'll do great in the class. And it's not because of the 5%, 5% is nothing. But the importance of it really is that if you're able to do that with the daily assignments, you'll do well on the weekly assignments and the exams. Okay.
Is the easiest way to just like say I'm not going to be at class on a certain day and I don't remember what you said, if there's a test or a quiz or whatever, just email you?
Yeah, just send me a message. Instant message would be better, but yeah.
On the D2.
Yeah. Question?
Well, kind of about weekly assignments. So I was
Yeah.
if contents like on Friday would be on the weekly assignment too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, probably it could be, but I was also going to say that so the weekly assignments are worth 20% of your grade. So that's a bigger chunk. And those are going to, those are not just going to be on the recent stuff. Those are going to be on all the stuff back to the beginning. So that's a way that I'm going to try to keep you going back and thinking about old stuff. So, so the question you asked probably isn't really going to be a thing because, in the 12th week of the class, I'll give you weekly assignments that still have calculations from week 2 on them or week 6 and whatever, These really are not going to be any different than the daily assignment questions. The only difference is you won't be given solutions to them. And if you ask me questions about them, I'll give hints here and there, but I'm not going to tell you how to do them because it's part of your evaluation. I do want you to feel free to talk to each other about those, though. That's important. And so feel free to, figure these things out together. It's just that the thing you turn in, then you need to write out your solution on your own without not just looking at notes you took with someone else. I want that to reflect your understanding of that problem. And basically, I don't care how you came to that understanding of the problem, except Chegg. Don't do it through Chegg.
And anything we might need to answer those questions will be presented.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing that we're gonna have
Exactly. But sometimes, things are confusing and it's nice to talk to a classmate or whatever. But so you shouldn't be copying them from each other, but you can be talking about an approach, to each other. And I guess this is the first case where I want to say you really should just never be going to Chegg or Course Hero or using ChatGPT for anything in this class, Yeah. It really can only go badly. I mean, okay, any questions about weekly assignments? And then the biggest part of the grade is exams. There are 4 of those. So that comes out to 17.5% of your grade for each one of them. That says that the one you take, the final, doesn't have any more weight in your grade than exam 1 or exam 2. All the exams will be cumulative. So that means as you study for the exams, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the class. And the best way to study for exams really is to go through the daily assignment problems. You probably don't have time, you know, to get, as you're getting ready for an exam, to redo every one of the daily assignment problems. It's a lot of problems. But what I would recommend doing is just go back to the start of the daily problems and just start going through and asking yourself, do I know the steps for doing this? And if you do, hopefully for most of them, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I do this, this, this. Then you're good on that one. You know how to do it. Go on to the next one. Eventually, maybe you'll get to one where you're a little hazy on what to do. And then that's the one to spend a little time on, you know? And I think if you do that for every exam and you get to the point where every one of those daily problems, you remember what the steps are that you're following to do it, then you'll be in a really good position to do well on the exams. Okay.
Would you say, like, as we progress in the class, would it be better to focus on previous exams that have been like completely corrected?
I think you can just think of the exams as kind of more questions if you want, you know. The same with the example problems that I do in class. I think only worrying about the daily problems would be perfectly fine. But if you want more questions to study with, more problems to study with, you can use weekly assignments that have been corrected, exams that have been corrected, and example problems from the class. It's just more stuff.
I assume they're closed book or do they?
Oh, yeah, good question. The exams are closed book, but I give you all the equations you need. Yeah.
And the tables?
Yes, all the tables and everything like that. So you really don't have to remember anything, but you just have to know how to put the different equations together, which is like a lot of these problems just end up being kind of like a mapping challenge, you know, like, okay, I'm going to use this equation to come up with the pressure here. Once I have the pressure, now I can use this equation to get this. And now, you know, that's really what this class is sort of about, which is so different than what statics is about. Any other questions about the exams?
Do you have that formula sheet up? Like in doing problems?
Oh, do I? Let's see if I. No. And actually, I think maybe I've never even posted like a full equation sheet, but that might be a nice thing. I think what I've done in the past is all the equations are just in your notes. And I think I'll think about, maybe I'll just do one. But one thing that I think is always helpful in a class like this with a ton of equations is just go through and just keep listing those equations and do it multiple times, like as you go. Just keep updating your list of equations. Remind yourself, like, what are the restrictions on this equation? When do I use it? What section was it from? And you do it once, it helps you remember a little. Put it aside, see if you can do it from memory, like all that kind of stuff. Just, I think, really helps. I remember the first class I ever took that felt like this kind of class, like just a million equations, was ordinary differential equations. And I remember I just started doing outlines from the start because I'm like, basically you learn like these approaches. It wasn't about a lot of equations really, it was about a lot of different approaches. But like this approach only applies for, say, first order linear differential equations. And now there's a totally new approach for like separable differential equations. And so I just kept doing lists of these things. And I felt like it just helped me so much, And a class like statics, it wouldn't help because you'd write down one equation and then you're like, oh, now I'm done, But in this class, your list of equations will be a page long or whatever, depending on how big your writing is. And I think it can really help you organize that stuff in your head.
Yeah, I did that in physics. That's what I turned into.
Mhm.
And my teacher's like, I'm going to give you the list.
Oh, yeah.
The variables were slightly different.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, right.
So,
Good That's a good question. I don't think I've ever done that list, but it wouldn't be very hard. It wouldn't take very long for me to do, so maybe I'll just do that. The nice thing about that is since I'm the one giving you the equations for the test, it would be nice for you to have the same format of the equations when you're doing the homework. Okay, I'll try to do that. Any other questions about the exams? I will do this one thing for the exam that because everyone has a bad test here or there. If your score for the fourth exam, the final, is better than any of your previous three, I'll replace the lowest of those previous three with the final exam score. So the idea is like, if you really bomb exam 2, you get a 30 on exam 2 or something. But then you get a 90 on exam 4, then the 30 is thrown out. The 90 counts as the final, but it also counts for your score for exam 2, So it's kind of like a mulligan.
So exam 4
redo.
is the final exam.
It's the final exam. It's not worth any more, except it can be worth more if you do well on it, because then if your worst exam score is exam 4, then it only counts as a single exam. If one of your other ones is your worst score, then exam 4 counts as 2 of those scores, I guess.
Got it. It is the logic that final exam is just an ordinary exam because it's using all of the previous exam material?
I don't know what the logic is. That's just how I do it. I mean, I think I felt like students don't like the stress of the final, so I'm like, let's not add stress to the final, Let's just make it one more test, And since all the other ones are cumulative anyways, it's not too much different, really, And here are the dates of all the exams. I haven't put up the final yet, but I can tell you that later. But so you might want to get these in your schedule now. I will definitely remind you as they're coming up. And then the cheating policy is just anything you turn in, don't use AI, don't use Chegg, and anything you turn in that's copied from those that if I can tell somehow, often I can, it's going to count as cheating. And then things go really badly. If I know you cheated on something, if I feel like I can prove it, then you get an F in the class and it goes to the office of that kind of stuff. And so just stay off that stuff and there won't be any problem. Usually that's much more of a problem in online classes. And then there's a bunch of stuff that the administrators want us to have in our syllabus, these learning outcomes. I don't find those super helpful, but the stuff that can be helpful is below that. There's some stuff about the Office for Students with Disabilities, which is a really helpful department at our school. If you feel like, I was going to bring this up when I talked about test anxiety. If you feel like regularly your anxiety about tests is messing up, is making it so that your knowledge is not reflected when you take tests, just go talk to them and see what they can do. They're just really nice people, very helpful, and definitely if you happen to know that you have some dyslexia or anything that would make you need to have extra time on tests or something like that, they're the people to talk to. And then you would just take your tests over there, and they have nice facilities, and yeah. And then there's some other stuff that you can just look through when you have time. Anybody have any questions about the structure of the class? Okay. In statics, I am going to give you an assignment. In Thermo, I'm not giving you an assignment. So Thermo will just start on Wednesday, basically, and we'll get into material. Okay. Happy start of the semester.